Well, a very sweaty Tuesday morning to you all. Let's talk about the Academy, and particular George Earthy. Yes, everybody, Russ and the West Ham Network. Hope you're all safe and well. Happy Tuesday. A little bit cool. It's still be warm in the UK, but not as warm as it was yesterday. And it doesn't seem very warm when, I was in Dubai, like 40 odd degrees or whatever. But it was cooler outside than it was inside. How's that possible? Anyway, it's Tuesday. Happy Wan-Bissaka Day. The club are due to announce that. That's all been agreed. It's just the formalities of the social media post 5 minutes before the announcement, where it's just like with some cryptic clue, which is like, and 5 minutes later, Bissaka is a hammer. England flag draped around him. Standard. It's sort of, rinse and repeat. Nothing like. Do you remember when we signed Felipe Anderson with all that Brazilian music? It was brilliant. Or Sebastian Haller. Do you remember we signed him when we'd released the third kit, wasn't it? And it was at the end of the third kit and our new signing, a star striker, Sebastian Haller. Anyway, let's talk about the Academy. Obviously, with Wan-Bissaka's impending arrival, that will be 8 players, and there's talk of at least 1 or 2. So now the focus goes to, if you look at the 20, at the moment with Zuma still here, we're pretty much on 25 with Wan-Bissaka in terms of 25-man squad. Of course, we can include Luis Guilherme. Technically, doesn't have to be registered because he's under 21. But where does that leave the Academy? Now, obviously, a number of them have featured over the pre-season, and particularly, obviously, the only one who really featured on Saturday was George Earthy. But potentially, maybe George Earthy was there and has been used with his little impressive cameo, as maybe a bit of a scouting mission, as according to XWHU employee, he's due to sign with Bristol City today on a season-long loan, which I think is a fantastic signing for him. Bristol City, obviously managed by Liam Manning, former under-23 West Ham coach for 4 years, I think it was. He was West Ham coach for the under-23s. He'll be well aware of George's exploits, and they play a really good style of football. Aggressive as well. They play an aggressive style of football. A number of championship clubs, top championships clubs, obviously, have been after George. He played 3 of the last 6 Premier League games, scored his first Premier League goal at home. Do you remember the last game of the season? And yeah, great move. And Pete, there's going to be a percentage of the fan base, I think, who've got to say, oh, we're letting our kids go. The pathway to me is not from 21s straight into the first team. Very few people do that. Declan Rice probably being one. And in fact, I always use this stat: 97% of academy players, Premier League academy players, never play 1 minute of academy football. So for George to have played 3 games, scored a Premier League goal at such a young age already, he's in the top 3% of academy graduates, Premier League academy graduates. Now, obviously, we've seen Freddie Potts last season. We're currently, including George, with George, it'll be 6, but we currently have 5 players officially out on loan. PK's at Doncaster. He didn't play at the weekend. He signed till Thursday, Friday. So he could well be playing in the Carabao Cup this week. Same too with Callum. He's due to make his debut for Huddersfield Town. I think it's tonight they play, actually. Michael Forbes, he was on the bench for Bristol Rovers' opener and came on for the last 25 minutes. The top 3, all Northern Irish. But obviously Doncaster Rovers is led by former West Ham graduate, Northern Ireland international Grant McCann. and Michael Keane, isn't it? I think, can't remember the guy. It might be his surname. Is the Northern Ireland player who's in charge of Huddersfield. We know Heggie's gone to Motherwell. He was an unused substitute. Last season, he was at Den Bosch and Stevenage. And Levi Lang, he played the full 90 for Cheltenham Town in their League Two clash opening season match at the weekend. So we've got 5. It'll be George at 6. But I think actually there'll be some more. And the reason why I think it's more is we're bringing in some really good players, and, if we look at position wise, I mean, George at the moment, I think, is probably, when everyone is fit, when everyone's playing in his position, probably third or probably fourth choice in that sort of front three, sort of behind the striker. If you play 4-2-3-1, he's sort of third, fourth choice. You've got Somerville, Kudus, Bowen, then maybe George, if Paqueta's playing as an 8. If not, then Paqueta. Then there's Cornet as well. Obviously, we're looking to get off the books. So I think it's a fantastic move for George, and we wish him all the best when it's officially announced. It should be today. Now, what's interesting about that is we saw last season Freddie Potts went out on loan for the season on loan and had a fantastic loan spell, and that made him players play the season, fans play the season as well for Wickham. I think you'll see him being integrated into the first team because he's 22 in it. So unless he goes out on loan again, but I can't see that happening. But we don't know. In essence, for anyone who doesn't know, within the academy, there's an academy sort of a committee with Kenny Brown, academy manager. Mark Robson, a lot of Marks, Mark Noble, Mark Phillips will be in that as well. Potsy, Colton Cole, and what they do is assess the clubs. Now, George had apparently several clubs after him, and Bristol was deemed the best. I think the fact is because Liam's there. That in itself means you've got some West Hamness there potentially. So good luck to George. But I think there's several others who I think we could see going out on loan. For me, I think Lewis should go out on loan. He could stay with the under 21s. However, I think his prominence has probably increased a bit now with everything around the Aston Villa bid and stuff like that. And I think for his progression, I think, again, his position, he's probably about fourth choice, realistically. He's not a CDM. That's Alvarez, Rodriguez, and Potts. Potts is a out of the box CDM. He's more of an 8. I think it's great. He's the next Michael Carrick. I watch a lot of academy football. I'm lucky enough to watch it and get paid for watching it as well. But he's a joy to watch as a football fan. He's brilliant. And head and shoulders, talent wise, pisses on the likes of Souček, but physically, no ways he's strong enough, and he'll get chewed up in the Premier League without, getting a bit of, I can't speak, but maybe I've got a bit too much bulk, but you know what I mean? So a loan spell to, a Wickham, a League One, League Two side, I think would do him dandy. And I think, we're looking at the right way of utilising the sort of the loan market as the old reserve league, the old combinations league. We've had loads of ex-players, ex-youth team players. Like, one that always sticks in mind is Izzy Ickpen. We interviewed him and he spoke about, he never made a first team appearance, but did a lot of reserve, played a lot of reserve football. Obviously won the 1999 FA Youth Cup. He was the captain, side with Joe Cole and Michael Carrick and people like that. And he said he learnt so much from the older pros when he was doing reserve team football. He recalls a time where he was playing against Les Ferdinand, and Les Ferdinand was just, he was half a foot smaller than him, but he was just beating him all the time. And Piercy was his centre back partner, and he just took him to the side and just gave him a few pointers. And then the second half, Ferdinand didn't get a look in, and that's the type of thing you can't learn. You have to learn on the job, and so. It's something you can't, particularly someone like Lewis and Georgia, these guys have been going from, age of 9 onwards. So they're going to be playing against the same players pretty much every year. They're just a year older. So, I think he needs to go out. The next one I think who should be going out on loan is Caelan. It's Caelan Casey. Again, we're going through a real transition with our centre back positions. We could, in theory, by the end of this transfer window, have none of our first choice centre backs from last season, if we're led to be believed. We've got the Kurt Zuma issue at the moment. Nathan Ged were open to offers. We said yesterday about Mavropanos not being Lopetegui's cup of tea, and we've got Bonner going as well, and Tilakira going as well. We've got a completely new backline. And as such, there's been a number of investments made, and there'll be some continual investments made in that backline if we see the likes of Aged and Mavropanos go. Even if they don't go, Casey's probably fifth choice. And he's someone, particularly centre halves. You have to have a level of physicality, a level of strength, and I think a season and a League Two side or a League One side getting knocked from pillar to post by burly strikers will do him the power of good. He'll learn nothing staying in the under-21s. He'll learn nothing playing 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, if he gets 5 minutes in the first team. So, for me, he needs to go. Now, there's a number of other players as well. Cam Schweier could be going out on loan. Hasn't really broken into the first team, really, or sort of been in the peripherals. There was talk of, pre-season. Gideon Kadoa's impressed. He's impressed the manager with his versatility. He's a right winger, right forward, who's obviously lifted the FA Youth Cup in a couple of years ago. He was a captain, playing in a forward role along with Divine Obama. What's happened to him? Ain't signed for anyone yet, is he? And this pre-season, whether it's part of a master plan or out of necessity, because we didn't have any right backs because they're all, out and about or been sold to or left and went to Ipswich, he was converted from a right winger, sort of wing position, into a right back. Now, we've seen it several times. Wan-Bissaka himself was a right wing who was converted by De Boer, maybe around that time with Crystal Palace, might have been before. We've done it before. Dan Chester's last year, Potts did the same thing, converted into right wing back, then went out on loan to Salford City, played a lot of game time at right back and right wing back. We offered him a new contract, and he got snapped up by Salford pretty much that day. So I don't think he'll go. He might go out on loan. I think it depends on what happens with Vladimir Soufal as well. With Wan-Bissaka coming in, where does that leave Soufal? He's got a C. We triggered the 1 year extension to his contract. He was obviously unhappy about that. Seeing the likes of Thomas Suchek obviously get a longer deal, Jared Bowen getting a 7-year deal, Antonio getting new deals, and he thought he warranted a longer contract. And so with Wan-Bissaka coming in, plus that, could it be a case of him maybe wanting to move on, Turkey being a destination? If that's the case, it would be very light on right backs. Obviously, we have been linked with several. Trevor Chalobah, who obviously plays centre-half and right back. Martinez from Genoa. But I think maybe someone like Gideon may well hang around the squad. We know Lopetegui likes him because how versatile and how quickly he's taken to this sort of more defensive role. So we shall see. But it's starting. We've got the squad. We're bringing in with Wan-Bissaka. That's pretty much, I think, 25-man squad now. Obviously, the club are looking to move players on. But that depends around other clubs wanting to buy our cast-offs. Will that happen? Will that not happen? We'll wait and see. We've got the saga with Kurt Zuma at the moment. I'm still a bit. I think we'll end up, despite the fact me not wanting to pay him off, I think if nothing happens, I think we will pay him off. That would impact potentially PSR. But according to Sean Wheatstone, we're okay. And actually, we've made a profit somehow on the 3 players. There was very complicated stuff and sustainability and things that I don't understand it. But it's going to be interesting to see where these players go. And obviously, we'll keep an eye on them. As always, we do the Academy show. We keep every week, we do a show on the Academy, charting their progress, talking about the 21s, talking about the 18s. And what's great about this, you're looking at who's gone now. Say George goes as well. So that's 6 players who have gone. And in essence, 4 of them, and 5 if you include Levi, were pretty much mainstays in the under-21 squad last season. Yes, Callum went out on loan, but in between he was very much back. He was a first teamer for the under-21s. So that leaves us a bit short with the under-21s. We've brought in some players. We've brought in 3 players. Louis Brown, Kenny's son, classy centre-back. Looking forward to seeing Louis in the West Ham shirt this season. the third generation of Browns. Um, David Chigueda, who I keep talking about, he's going to be a massive. He has massive potential. That's a real coup in terms of getting him from Man City, and I think he'll be fast tracked into the 21s without a shadow of a doubt. Plus, obviously, you got Balogun as well from Man United. Again, another coup from a good academy, getting another youngster in. But what that does is it basically moves everyone up the food chain a bit. So, say 4 or 5 of the first teamers from last year's under 21 squad, they have to then be replaced. 18s, Josh Jala, real good hope about him moving up, and a real classy forward who I think is going to make a massive impact. We've got Ezra Mayes, who turned down Bayern Munich for West Ham to sign his first pro deal. We've got the likes of Josh Briggs, who I think, for me, he's the next one. He's the next Declan Rice. He's got it in his wheelhouse to move from centre half into CDM if that's was decided to do that. Dan Rigg as well. He could take over. Dan takes over the George Earthy role in the under 21s without a shadow of a doubt. And then that obviously leaves the 18s a little bit light. So the 16s move up. So you've got Edris Golombekis. Mark my words, the boy is a baller. Lithuanian youth centre half. He is a classy player. So we see, and that to me is what the pathway is all about. It's producing a pathway. George, I think in 18 months, next season, 2 years, whatever, will be in the first team regularly at West Ham. Maybe by then, potentially, Kudus could have moved on. Paqueta could have moved on. Yes, that money will be reinvested, but someone like George has got it in his locker easily to do it. Same as Lewis Orford. Rodriguez is signed. He's 30, 31. He's got a couple of years in him. Lewis is only 18, 19 now. He's got plenty of time in his hands. And that's not including the likes of Ollie Scarles. Ollie Scarles is back. He's been playing pre-season, played for the 21s at the weekend. Lewis Orford scored a good goal for the 21s at the weekend as well. It was lost 4-3. So there's going to be a continuation. There's going to be a pathway. And we know part of Lopetegui's job spec is to breed the academy into the first team. Now, he's not going to do that from day one. Not going to do it from day one. But what he's going to do is build a pathway, utilising the loan deals, utilising that loan setup to get these guys the experience. So when they do need to be called upon, they're ready to roll. They're not going to be a rabbit in the headlights. And as I said, I keep saying 97% of Premier League academies, entrants don't play a single Premier League minute. So, for every 10 players we think are going to make it, only 3 are probably going to get any minutes. No. That's 70%. Sorry. Only one, really, on average. Sorry. This is whether it's frazzled my brain cells. But out of 10, only one, really, and that's if you're lucky to get that one. So over the last, and that's in the Premier League, that's not including the cup competitions or things like that. And you want a situation where you're going to have a player make, look at Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson was sort of the archetypal academy sort of entry. I think he made about 80 appearances, something like that in total. It's a shame we didn't keep him, but we've seen what we're looking at now in terms of hindsight's a great thing. At the time, we were like, oh, but that's the same as a lot of our academy players. We at the time we think the world's going to crash and it's going to cave in itself because we sold Grady and Diagana to West Brom. You know what I mean? They know what they're doing in the academy. There hasn't been many duds. There hasn't been many situations where they've sold someone and we've got missed out a superstar there. They know what they're looking at. And they need to be, and it's almost like they've got individual development plans. And for me, this was always going to be part of George's plan. He broke into the first team, got a few minutes, played a few games, scored a goal, and now it's about the next step. It's getting regular first team football. 90 minutes every week, or 60 minutes, or of not just under 21 games, but of good caliber championship football. And you're going to see a hell of a player come back. Anyway, That's me. Have a great rest of the day. If and when Mr. Wan-Bissaka signs, we'll try and bring it to you as soon as possible. Take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble. Keep the faith, my friends. Come on, you bloody, bloody irons. Irons!